Trey Lance has been dominating as of late for a newly created expansion team named the Orlando Sentinels. Can Trey Lance and his team continue their winning ways? We'll find out as we recap the 2023 NFL season. First things first, we must get rid of Matthew Judon. Yes, he's our best player, but he's old and really should be on a contending team. So after looking at the offers, the two best deals were from the Chargers and the Bengals. The Chargers offer us Asante Samuel Jr. and draft picks for Judon straight up. Our corners have played well, but that isn't really something I would like to rely on. So I would be open to an upgrade, especially since Asante Samuel is young and every corner we have starting is over 30 years old besides Levi Wallace. The Bengals offer us Daxton Hill and draft picks for Judon straight up. Now, the draft picks are better than what the Chargers are giving us, and Daxton Hill is on contract for an extra year than Asante Samuel, but we are heavy in safeties. Ryan Neal is on his last year of his deal, so he'll probably be gone, but Donovan Wilson has been a beast for us, and he still has 3 years left, and we just traded for Geno Stone, a young free safety who still has 2 years left on his deal. So after negotiating an extra 5th round pick, the Sentinels accept the deal from the Chargers. We definitely got a good haul for Matthew Judon, a guy who didn't play a single snap for us. The Sentinels make another trade, this one not as impactful. The Orlando Sentinels send 31-year-old Raheem Mostert to Houston for Nico Collins and draft picks. It's clear Orlando is trying to get younger and get draft assets, while the Texans need a running back since it's likely Singletary isn't re-signing and Pierce has been struggling all year. And the last trade of the season for Orlando will be the veteran Tyler Boyd being dealt for Juwan Johnson and more draft picks. It's been made clear Tyler Boyd will not resign and he's only on a 1-year deal, while Juwan Johnson on the other hand is on a 2-year deal and is 2 years younger than Boyd. The Sentinels load up on draft picks and free up cap space and look to make some noise in the offseason. After all the trades, the Sentinels started to struggle heavily. I mean, it's not surprising, but the players on the field started to get frustrated. Trey Lance was getting crazy amount of pressure from the Colts, but he was also holding the ball too long. He simply didn't look like the same quarterback who threw for 300 plus yards in back-to-back games against Buffalo and Miami. After starting 5-3, the Sentinels desperately needed a break, and they got it because it was their bye week. Usually the bye week is when a team comes together, but for Orlando it was the opposite. Reports claim that Orlando players joined a Zoom call and were frustrated with their losing streak and started to blame it on the trades the front office made. The trades were clearly a chess move to make them good for the future, but currently a lot of players were upset. Sadly for them, things would not get much better. It's safe to say the O-line for Orlando could not hold up Dexter Lawrence, and what was once a shocking top 12 O-line has now turned into an expected worst O-line in the league based on PFF rankings. Trey Lance is definitely not free from criticism though. He has definitely played bad on this team's losing streak. By the end of the year, the Sentinels finished 6-11, a far cry from their 5-3 start. The Sentinels were bottom 10 in points scored while allowing the 3rd most points in the league, resulting in an awful 6-game losing streak to end the year. Surprisingly, the Sentinels did have a Pro Bowler. Donovan Wilson, who had a monster season, ended up making it even though the team struggled mightily. Looking at the season stats, Trey Lance ended up having a mediocre year after a very strong start to the season, while Bridgewater was pretty bad during his time as a starter. Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually had a pretty good season on the ground, his best year of his career, so the Sentinels actually end up re-signing him, but they are still looking at their options in the draft and free agency. Jamison Williams probably had the best offensive season out of all Sentinels players, nearly putting up 1,000 yards with mediocre quarterback play, while the rest of the receiving core was alright but nothing to be impressed about. The former Titan David Long had a good season for Orlando, but a big problem for the Sentinels is getting pressure. Orlando is bottom 10 in sacks on the year, and of course the 2023 Pro Bowler Donovan Wilson had the best season out of anybody on the team. And the Buffalo Bills end up winning their first Super Bowl, and Josh Allen wins his first Super Bowl MVP, while Dak clears out the awards as he wins MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. After the official end of the season, the Sentinels end up firing their head coach and go out and sign Kevin Stefanski after he got fired after a 4-win season by the Browns. It's clear that more changes need to be made and it starts in the offseason. The Sentinels have an array of draft picks for the next 3 years, but especially in 2024, and we have a lot of cap space to play with to hopefully improve the newly created Orlando Sentinel team. The first piece of offseason moves is Orlando not re-signing any of their 3 quarterbacks, which almost guarantees the Sentinels will get a quarterback in the up-and-coming draft. Speaking of the draft, let's look at these young prospects. The quarterback from Oklahoma is the clear #1 quarterback prospect. Amani Edwards is definitely someone Orlando has thought about trading up to get, since we desperately need a franchise quarterback. Liam Archer out of Iowa is a straight-up pocket quarterback. He is a very young prospect, but he can process defenses very well. He's a little raw of a player, but over time he should develop. Robert Agnew is the safest quarterback besides Amani Edwards. He is like Liam Archer because he can process defenses very well, but Agnew is a better athlete but also has a slightly weaker arm than Archer. Drake Maddox is another quarterback Orlando will look to get if Amani is not available. Maddox is extremely fast and talented, but it's still hard to tell if he will transfer to the NFL level. If the Sentinels want a high upside player, Drake Maddox is the way to go. At running back, we have DeJounte King. Once again, he is the clear #1 running back in the draft. DeJounte is insanely quick, but he's not a power runner, but man, he can break tackles. Now, if you want to wait a little later in the draft for a running back, there's Azilis Porter, who is a big 6-foot receiving back out of Houston. Orlando initially did not need a running back a couple weeks ago, but with Mostert gone and James Robinson unlikely to return, Azilis Porter is definitely somebody we will be targeting. Juke James is somebody who we can draft in the late 2nd round if we decide to wait a long time for running back. He's extremely quick and has great ability to avoid tacklers. He is only 5'8", so his ability to be a workhorse back is kinda out the window. Some call him Dez, but the scouts call him Desmond Rye. This man is easily the most powerful runner in the draft, and if he stays healthy, he could definitely be a workhorse back. He has had some injury concerns, but if he can stay on the field, he is a real problem. The top wide receiver prospect is projected inside the top 10 due to his explosiveness. Zaire Blackwell is one of the shiftiest and fastest players in the up-and-coming draft class, and he would be a great addition to the Sentinels team. Storm Watkins is a high riser up the draft boards. He plays with #1 wide receiver prospect Zaire Blackwell on USC. Storm is a guy who isn't a great route runner, but if you see him in space or open field, it's game over. USC uses him in a Deebo Samuel-like role where he gets used as a running back and receiver. Storm Watkins has the upside to be a game changer or a floor of a draft bust. Victor Cruz Jr. at only 20 years old has one of the highest ceilings in the entire draft class. He's a huge wide receiver that is an amazing deep threat. He doesn't have great route running, but he's so fast and athletic that many scouts compare him to a faster Mike Evans. Kalante Cleveland is one of the biggest fallers in the draft class. The former running back was once projected inside the top 25, but ever since off the field issues and injuries, he is now looked at as a 2nd round player. Cleveland still has great upside, but he is a much riskier pick nowadays. Jacoby Lee out of Texas is a very safe pick at the wide receiver position. He's never had any injury problems and he's a very polished player. His main expertise is in the slot and short routes for first downs. Matthew Haynes is easily the best tight end prospect in the draft. To be fair, it's a pretty weak class for tight ends, but Haynes is an exception. He is an amazing run and pass blocker and has a great knack at getting short routes for check downs. Haynes is nothing generational, but he is definitely a player who is NFL ready. Now, Tyrell Johnson Jr. is nothing to play with. He's the complete opposite of Matthew Haynes. He's extremely fast and talented down the field, but he cannot block at all. As of late though, TJJ has been killing it for Alabama and has amazing upside for a tight end. At left tackle, Travis Jennings might be the best player in the draft and might go 1st overall over Amani Edwards. Jennings has no flaws and is one of the best O-line prospects of the decade. Drew McIntosh is the best guard prospect in the draft. He is mainly a run blocker, but he still looks to work on his pass blocking skills. Kevin Forbes is also a top guard prospect in the draft. He isn't that strong surprisingly, but he is very skilled. He is solid at both pass and run blocking, but we'll see if his talents can transfer over to the NFL since his strength could be a problem. Roy Dickerson is a risky prospect. He is projected in the top 15, but he has injury concerns and isn't as fast of a player as you would want for an offensive tackle. The Alabama O-lineman was very good in his sophomore year, but in his junior year it's been a struggle. He is a high upside type of pick at the right tackle position. Out of a very weak defensive end class, Miguel Wiggins is the only one worth mentioning. Miguel is a short DN, but he has great bursts of speed off the line and is very bendy, kinda like a TJ Watt type of pass rusher. Orlando does need some guys to bring pressure on the quarterback, and Wiggins certainly does that. Malik Cone is a very safe and low ceiling prospect out of Oregon. In college, he's shown potential as a pass rusher, but he mainly is a run stopper. A run stopper is exactly what Orlando needs, so we'll see if Malik is available. Jared Wallace out of Ohio State is the most athletic D tackle in the draft class. A lot of people have said that he should move to defensive end, but he has stayed at the D tackle position and has worked wonders. Many question if his production will drop at the highest level since he can't just bully grown men like he does at college. The TCU outside linebacker was easily the best pass rusher in the 2024 draft class, but after a dislocated elbow injury, KJ Walker saw his draft stock drop a bit. Walker will be out for the remainder of his junior season at TCU, but he has still declared for the draft. The once projected top 3 pick is now projected 5 to 10, but his talent is still off the charts. Caleb Kemp is another good pass rusher, but he is mainly a power rusher. He's been an absolute bully for LSU by using his insane strength. It'll be interesting to see if he can still continue that in the NFL. Damian McDaniels is a top 10 projected pick due to his great ability to get to the quarterback. McDaniels utilizes power and speed rush moves while being able to stop the run. The only thing that holds him back from being a potential top 2 pick is his long list of injuries. Now at middle linebacker, Jake Mills is not a good pass rusher, but he is a great open field tackler and has good pursuit speed. His zone and man coverages are very polished, and Mills looks to be the best cover linebacker in the draft. The Virginia Tech cornerback is an all-around threat for all receivers. JT Walker is truly the best all-around corner while being decently athletic, making him a safe prospect for teams to take. The cornerback Malachi Washington transferred to Colorado to be taught by the legend Deion Sanders. Ever since, Malachi has been a shutdown man-to-man corner. He is pretty skinny and some scouts have their concerns over his weight against big receivers, but Malachi's skill and speed may be able to overshadow his lack of weight. If you're looking for a strong physical corner, it's JJ Atkins. He isn't great in man, but due to his physical and strong play style, he's very good in press. JJ Atkins is mainly a zone corner that can read the quarterback's eyes for interceptions. He isn't a physical specimen, but Atkins can get the job done with his skills alone. At free safety, the Baylor star has been an absolute ball hawk. Jabari Rose isn't crazy fast, but he's quick enough to get all around the field to lurk for interceptions. Jabari also is good at tackling running backs in the open field, but his main ability is being a menace for all opposing quarterbacks. And at strong safety, we have Ali Raheem. Raheem is not a crazy athlete, but he makes up for it with amazing skills and football IQ. He is not going to lock down a receiver in man coverage, but he is great in zone and is a hard hitter. Ali Raheem could be a great addition to Orlando's turnover forcing defense, but we do already have solid safeties in Geno Stone and Donovan Wilson, so we will most likely pass on the #1 ranked safety. And that is it for the video. Next episode, I will be showing the 2024 NFL Draft, mock drafts, and free agency, who we pick up. I hope you enjoyed the little recap video. Thank you for watching, and peace.